Welcome back to Vandana's biology session, children. So we'll begin the session with sexual reproduction in flowering plants, which is your second chapter. So you pretty well know that flower is a modified shoot. It develops from floral primordia. The floral primordia actually develop into the bud, and bud in turn develops into the flower. Okay, and the picture given next is showing anthers and ovary, style and stigma, isn't it? So stamens are made up of filament and anther lobes. So these two constitute the stamen in fact. So that is the male reproductive part, and you pretty well know that ovary, style and stigma constitute the female reproductive part. So microsporogenesis, megasporogenesis have been dealt in this particular chapter. So microsporogenesis actually, what does it mean and where does it happen? Microsporogenesis is taking place inside the microsporangia, which are located inside the anther, and microsporogenesis is actually the formation of pollen grains. So before we look into microsporogenesis, just look into the stamen. So here you are able to see the stamens, and stamen is made up of filament and the anther. Now you can pretty well see that red colored ones are anthers, and each anther is bilobed and bithecous. There is actually a small longitudinal groove that separates the theca, isn't it? And if we look into the internal structure, you see each anther is not just made up of two theca, but internally it is actually a tetragonal structure consisting of 4 microsporangia, 2 in each of the lobes. Okay, so microsporangia develop further and get transformed into what are called as pollen sacs. So if I just enlarge, I think it's more clear, isn't it? So just observe that. Next you see a better and a clear picture. You see here there are 4 microsporangia, isn't it, which transform or develop into what are called pollen sacs. You are able to see the pollen grains there, and you are able to see a line of dehiscence given there. So line of dehiscence is a part actually that is a location where the pollen the anther actually breaks open. Along the line of dehiscence the anther breaks open, especially during wind pollination this happens. Okay. Now look into the structure of microsporangium. I am just enlarging the picture here. You are able to see the various layers, isn't it? So the outermost layer is epidermis, followed by endothecium, then middle layers, then tapetum, and then microspore mother cells. Okay. So this diagram also will be important from the exam point of view. Now let us understand the different layers of microsporangium. Now the outermost layer is epidermis. Okay. And it is single layer, it is protective in function. Then endothecium is next to epidermis. So it is a second layer with thick cells, and it helps in dehiscence and is protective in nature. Okay. Next to endothecium we have the middle layers, around 1 to 3 layers are there, and they are also basically helping in protection and also help in dehiscence. Okay. The next layer is tapetum. Now this is important from the exam point of view. Remember children, tapetum is the innermost layer. It consists of thick dense cytoplasm and many nuclei. It provides nourishment to the developing pollen grains. So tapetum is not meant for protection or dehiscence, but rather it is meant for nourishment. Okay. Now next is the center of microsporangium is having what is called as a sporogenous tissue. The sporogenous tissue consists of many cells, and all these cells are bound to become the microspore mother cells or the pollen mother cells. Okay. Now just look into how the microspore mother cell or the pollen mother cell, it is dividing by meiosis 1 and then meiosis 2 to form the microspore tetrad. So what is microspore? Microspore is nothing but pollen grain, and the diagram picture beneath shows a hibiscus pollen grain. Now you are able to see some kind of thorn like extensions, isn't it? So the outer wall of the pollen grain, that is exine, can show these kind of things, and the study of pollen grains is a small branch of botany called as palynology. Okay. Now coming back to microsporogenesis. Now each cell of the sporogenous tissue is going to become what is called as the pollen mother cell or the microspore mother cell, and as shown in the previous slide, it undergoes meiosis. Each mother cell, PMC is pollen mother cell, undergoes meiosis to produce what are called microspore tetrads. Okay, and on maturity the anthers dehydrate and the microspores separate from each other to form what are called as pollen grains. Here you see pollen mother cell which is diploid undergoes meiosis to produce what are called as the tetrads or haploid pollen cells, and they are separating to form what are called pollen grains. And the picture below actually shows that the pollen grain, initially when it is formed, it is unicellular uninucleate, but the pollen grain divides unequally to form a larger and a smaller cell in fact, and at the two-celled stage actually the dehiscence occurs. Okay. Now pollen grain is made up of outer exine and inner intine. Okay, so in the previous picture you have seen that exine can have a certain kind of spiny kind of things, isn't it? So this exine is a very hard layer actually made up of a special substance called sporopollenin, okay, which is very resistant to temperature, enzymes and so many things. Okay, so exine is made up of sporopollenin, remember. This is important from the exam point of view. Now next inner layer intine is made up of cellulose and pectin. Okay, the exine has an aperture where sporopollenin is absent, and this aperture is called germ pore. Now here you see a picture here. So you are able to see germ pore, you are able to see exine, how it is showing some extensions, and inner intine is there, isn't it? You are able to see, and it is consisting of two cells here, isn't it? See, the newly generated pollen grain has a central nucleus and dense cytoplasm. Okay, but when the pollen grain matures, the protoplast mitotically divide into two unequal cells. The bigger cell is called vegetative cell, which is rich in food reserve, and a smaller cell called generative cell, which has a dense cytoplasm and a nucleus. So this is the two-celled stage. So at this two-celled stage, mostly the pollen grains are released. Okay, released in the sense pollination. Release of pollen grains is pollination. Either they are taken away by the insects or wind or whatever. We'll come to that kind of discussion later on. But remember, at the two-celled stage, majority of the pollen grains are released. But in few cases, the generative cell may divide once again mitotically to give rise to one more. So totally how many will be there now? 3 cells. So three-celled stage also dehiscence may occur. So let us look into the female reproductive unit, that is the pistil. Okay, so the first diagram you see, it is the ovary, style and stigma, okay, of the hibiscus. Now next B is a multicarpellary syncarpus of a papaver. Okay, papaver is a plant. Okay, next is a multicarpellary apocarpus gynoecium of Michelia. Then typical anatropous ovule. 4 pictures are there here, you see. Different types of pistils actually I am trying to show you. That's why I have included the apocarpus gynoeciums also. Pistil is a female reproductive part. Okay, so it may be mono, bi, tri, polycarpellary, okay, syncarpus, apocarpus. Okay, now each pistil consists of ovary, style and stigma, and ovary has cavities called locules. So you have learned certain things in taxonomy last year, bicarpellary, syncarpus, superior ovary, like this, isn't it? So I am just trying to give a recapitulation of those terms which you have learned last year. Now placenta is present in locules which bears ovules. Okay, number of ovules may be 1 or more. Now how does the ovule arise? Ovule arises as primordium on the placenta. Ovule is attached inside the ovary by a short stalk called funicle. The ovule is made up of a tissue. The body of the ovule is made up of what is called nucellus, and the ovule is having 2 layers, wall layers for protection. These are called integuments, and there is a small hole or aperture left, that is called micropyle. Yeah, this is the anatropous ovule. I am just enlarging the picture. Here you can see. Yeah, so you are able to see the micropyle. There is an opening here, and you are able to see the funiculus, and yes, that is a stalk by which ovule is attached. Okay, and you are finding one small oval structure here with the egg, isn't it, which is labeled as embryo sac. Yes, that is important. We'll come to know how this embryo sac develops. So this is an anatropous ovule, and this diagram also is important from the exam point of view. The process of formation of megaspore from megaspore mother cell is called megasporogenesis. So microsporogenesis is how microspores are formed. So megasporogenesis is how megaspores are formed. The process of megasporogenesis occurs inside the nucellus of the ovule. The ovular primordium is consisting of a group of meristematic cells. Okay, a single cell called archisporial cell differentiates near micropylar end. The archisporial cell divides into outer parietal and inner megasporocyte, or the megasporocyte is also called megaspore mother cells. All these are basically diploid. So now this megaspore mother cell undergoes meiotic division to form 4 haploid megaspores. Now out of these 4 haploid megaspores, 3 are actually going to degenerate. Okay, and only one is going to remain functional, which is called functional megaspore. So from this functional megaspore, the entire embryo sac develops. So we call it as monosporic embryo sac development. Okay, the single functional megaspore develops into a 7-celled 8-nucleate embryo sac. How many cells are there? 7. How many nuclei? 8. Remember this. This also is important from the exam point of view. The nucleus of single functional megaspore undergoes 3 successive mitotic divisions to form 8-nucleate embryo sac, which is called female gametophyte. Okay, one nucleus from each pole migrate towards the center. Okay, so cell wall formation starts. So 3 nuclei at the micropylar end get organized into egg apparatus. So we'll just look into this. See, 1 is there in the first one, then next it is dividing into 2. 2 divide to 4, isn't it? Yeah, and 4 to 8. So when 8 are formed finally, the last penultimate diagram here you see, they are formed 4 towards one end, 4 towards the other end, and from these 4, 1 each is migrating and coming in the center. So it is 8 nucleate, and the 2 nuclei in the center actually fuse. So for how many cells will be there? 3 at the upper end, 3 at the lower end, 1 in the center. So 7 cells will be there, but nuclei are 8. So here, this is the best overview of the entire development process. So we'll just have a recap, repetition here. So there are one mother cell is there, which is dividing into 4 haploid cells, out of which 1 is actually dividing mitotically to produce 8 cells, isn't it? Out of which 3 are towards one corner, that is the last diagram is of the mature embryo sac. Okay, so it is having 3 cells towards one end, 3 cells to the other end, and 1 cell in the center, isn't it? Just have a look at these. So 3 cells to the top, they are called as antipodals. What are they called as? Antipodals. And 3 cells to the bottom, out of which the center one is called egg, and the 2 cells which are side, they are called as synergids. Okay, and the one in the center is called central cell. So embryo sac actually consists of egg apparatus, 2 synergids and 1 egg cell, which is located towards the micropylar end, 2 polar nuclei which form diploid secondary nucleus in the central cell. Okay, then 3 cells towards the chalazal end, which constitute what are called as the antipodal cells. Okay, see how the pollen tube is entering. Now after pollination, that is the pollen grains are released and they fall on the stigma. Now the pollen tube has to grow. Now the pollen tube grows like this. So pollen tube is actually carrying 2 male gametes here, you see. Okay, so from the 2 male gametes which are entering here, in the second one you can see one particular male gamete fuses with the egg and the other male gamete fuses with the central cell. So the pollen tube can enter from the micropyle or through the chalaza or through the integuments. So if it is entering through the micropyle, it is called porogamy, or from the chalaza it is chalazogamy, and if it is entering through the integuments, it is called mesogamy. Okay, so What are the events that are going to happen now? Release of 2 male gametes from pollen tube into the cytoplasm of cyanogetes. Fusion of 1 male gamete with egg cell called syngamy. It is called syngamy to form a zygote. Fusion of second male gamete with the polar nuclei of central cell to form primary endosperm nucleus pen, which is triploid now. So fertilization has taken how many times? Twice. So one fertilization with the egg and one more with the polar nuclei, that is the central cell. So it is called double fertilization. The central cell with the pen is called primary endosperm cell, which develops into what is called endosperm, and that is the reason why endosperm is triploid, 3N. Okay, so we'll discuss further in the next session, and until then, thank you.